Hello everybody, this is Carmen with Elemental Designs, and today we're going to be creating an art journal page. What you see me using here is a tissue paper by Holtz, and I'm going to be using this as the starting point for my art journal page. I'm going to be applying this paper with some matte medium by Gesso Art, and I will also be using other Gesso Art products for this art journal page. I do hope that you guys enjoy this video. It was a very whimsical, something a little bit out of my comfort zone, I would say, because I usually don't do whimsical, but I found really nice whimsical images in a magazine, and I figured, you know what, these would be great for doing a little bit of collaging, which is also something that I'm completely new at. I don't do a lot of collaging. I've done some collaging, but never to like create a video for you guys to see like what the kind of things that I do. So I thought this would be a nice way to kind of start breaking this art journal book in. And again, I'm going to be applying the rest of this tissue and the rest of my collaging as well with the matte medium by Gesso Art. That's just one of my sketches there. So for the most part, I'm gonna allow this to dry, and once this is completely dry, and I'm applying it over again on the top just to make sure that I have an extra layer of protection, because it's just for good measure. But you don't necessarily have to do this if you don't want to. I just like to add as many layers of protection as possible. Usually 1 to 2 will do, especially when you're going to be working with wet mediums, because this book is not designed for mixed media work. It's actually a sketchbook, so it's not designed to hold any kind of water or paints or liquids. So here you're going to see me use some gesso, again by Gesso Art, and I'm going to be thinning this out by just spraying a little bit of water on it and just spreading it out. I just wanted to have another layer of protection, so I added the matte medium first, and then I let that dry, and now I'm going into it with a little bit of the gesso. I wanted a lot of that imagery to still show through, because I really still wasn't sure which way my page was gonna go as far as the layout, as far as the colors and composition. So I wasn't sure how much of that I was actually gonna want to keep in it. I was more so just excited to play with the paper itself. And I must say, I really do like it. I really do like it. It's got a really nice waxy finish, and I know that for applying other mediums and like gelatos and stuff like that, it would be perfect. Especially for his inks, his distress oxide. Oh man, that'll be next, you guys. That'll be next. So here you see me using some acrylic paints by Gesso Art. This is Sour Apple that I'm putting on first, and I really do like this this shade of green for these kinds of projects, for mixed media type projects. And I'm adding some daffodil yellow. And all of these paints again are by Gesso Art from their Americana and their Crafters acrylic line. This is Bahama Blue. My Bahama Blue is gets a little dry every now and then on the top, but it also kind of helps to keep the rest of it nice and wet. So I don't worry about that too much. I just unclog it whenever I need to. And this came on a little heavy. I was trying to thin it out by spraying some water on it, but I think I added a little bit too much. But it's okay. It's okay overall, because I'm going to be doing just so many things to this page in general that by the time I'm done, I think I would have covered up most of the images anyway, because I just did so much to it. But you can still see some of it. You can still see a little bit of it kind of shining through, especially like the yellow areas and the areas where the blue is very, very light. So here I'm using some lavender, and I just used a little foam stamp square to just apply some lavender, and here I'm just reapplying some of the other colors on it just to make sure that those are still somewhat visible on the page. And then I just kind of started twisting them around and just kind of blending them just slightly. I'm trying to just create different effects. This is their media spray, and it's in black, and I'm just adding little dots and flattening those dots out and spreading them out, if you will, by using the stamp block again. And it's not really a stamp block, it just used to belong to a stamp that I unmounted, but the little foam squares was just too nice to throw away, so I kept them. Because you never know what you're going to use them for, right? So pretty much that's what I did. I just kind of spread out some of that paint. I dragged it out a little bit. Here I'm using a little bit of warm white, and I am going to again just add I wanted to give it an effect of like floating mountains, but I didn't want them to be too you know, too vivid. Like I didn't want them to be too clear. I just wanted to give this slight illusion of something is falling in the background. We don't know what it is. I think I achieved that because I don't know what it is. I don't know what it looks like. But yes, and here I'm adding a little bit more of that media spray to get some circles on there and just to add some shapes. And again, it's just all about building layers and adding interest, you know, creating your background by just adding different things, different dimensions, you know, just making it look like there's just things in the background, things in the foreground, things in the middle ground. And you achieve this by pretty much just adding all these different kinds of, you know, shapes and just layers of just different things. And I didn't want to mix the white paint with the black, so I just allowed it to kind of spread itself out a little bit just by tapping it. And this allowed me to just get the pure white without actually picking up gray or overwhelming either one of the colors. I was able to just use the pure white, which is warm white is the color. And just adding some circles, and I'm using a little cap to do this. One of the media spray caps is what I'm using to do this. And here I'm gonna try to just add some little dots here and there just by splashing a little bit of that media paint everywhere. I was trying to get little fine dots, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You just do it till you feel satisfied, and always try to let things dry before you go on to the next layer. I wanted to add a little bit of drips coming off the page in the top. I somehow achieved this, not all the way to my satisfaction, but I got enough that I was okay with it. And yes, as you can see, I dirtied my book up in the top, but that's okay. I went ahead and made sure that those pages were separated after. But if you want to avoid gluing your pages together and or painting over or having colors seep through, then just put something under each page that'll cover the whole entire you know, side of the paper, so that nothing drips behind it and your papers underneath are protected. Here I'm just adding a little bit of white to that, and again I'm just trying to create like different effects, different illusions, the illusions of shadows kind of coming off of these little peaks, more or less. Just more things kind of floating. I imagine that to be like a bigger kind of island just floating in the sky, and those are just the roots that are coming off of that island. I always like to tell myself some kind of story. So yes, as you can see, this is what happens when you don't let things dry all the way through and through. It didn't happen to me everywhere, but I guess I missed some spots where the paint was still a little bit wet, and I did get a little bit of that paint kind of running. It wasn't too bad, so I was okay with it. But yeah, just definitely be careful. If you have a heat setting tool, then definitely just heat blast it real quick, and just make sure that your page is completely dry before you move on to the next step. And again, I'm just protecting this page with another layer of matte medium, just to make sure that everything I have done thus far remains intact for any future layers that I add on top. And I'm gonna let this dry before I go on to the next step. And this is dry at this point in time. Now I'm gonna go ahead and just start building a little bit of the collage elements. And this is just basic scrapbook paper that I had left over from some projects that I created. This Saturday I created some shadow boxes and I made some dress forms, and that paper was just left over from that. And this paper that I'm using here is left over from a different project that I was doing. So it's always good to use up your scraps, especially if you like to save them. Definitely use them. I've found myself collecting scraps like crazy and not using them, so I'm trying to get better at using them and turning them into something or incorporating them into something. And since I had so many other colors going on here, I thought that this pink paper and just the contrast of it would be good for this page. And like that, nothing goes to waste as well. And I really love doing these kinds of projects. Mixed media is something to me that I really do enjoy. I enjoy arts and crafts in general. I mean, I enjoy everything from painting to paper crafting. I enjoy it all. But mixed media has just a special place in my heart because it's just so forgiving. It's so forgiving. There's no going wrong because you can always change up whatever you feel you've done that doesn't necessarily feel too right. You can always add something, or or even remove it by just going over with a little bit of gesso or a little bit of paint. It's just very, very forgiving, and I do appreciate that about mixed media. So this is one of the images that I'm going to be using, and again, these were all found in a magazine. I don't know if I said that or not. These were all found in the magazine. They were actually a part of the same page spread, where most of them were. This is a rock that I'm using in the bottom to make it look like she's standing on a rock. And I wasn't really sure what to do with that, so I thought at the beginning maybe I'll have her hold it like it's a shield. But then, and I actually probably should have kept it like that because now looking at it, I think I like it better that way than how I ended up putting it. But again, you just play around with stuff and see how it all works out. I'm going to be using kind of like a tree branch that I found that I cut out in the magazine, and I'm going to be using that. And I trimmed it down a little bit just to narrow it down so it looks like it's coming out of her hands. And then I used that as more or less the holding part of the umbrella, if you will, which I know that stick is probably way too wide, but it's okay. And then I used the other half for this horse that I found in another magazine that I thought would be perfect and just add to the whole whimsicalness of the page. And these are little cake people. They are super, super adorable, and I'm just like, oh, OMG, I have to use this in here. So I cut those out as well, and I put him on another rock. Again, just trying to kind of marry both pages together and just make them look like they're part of one cohesive wacky dream, if you will. And here I'm just trimming off some of the little excess papers. I didn't do too much shabby cutting on this. I didn't go for too much detail. I kind of just cut out squares for a lot of them and just left them as they were, and didn't worry so much about the extra detail because it'll all kind of blend into the background anyway. I just did a little bit of detailing on these, but nothing too major. And here I'm going to tuck this little guy in there because he's kind of like peeking out of somewhere. And I found a little phrase in this magazine that says time travel, which I thought was fitting for this kind of page, especially because this is supposed to be something like a dreamlike kind of state where you have so many things happening at the same time, and minutes seem like hours, hours seems like days, and time just kind of travels very quickly when you're in a dream. A lot of things happen in a short amount of time. So I thought it was fitting for this page, and overall very whimsical. Everything is very whimsical about it, and I wish that I could find more images like this. I really did enjoy using them, but I think I'm gonna see what I can find on the computer and just start trying to clip some and save some for future use and future videos. Let me know in the description down below, you guys, if you like this kind of stuff, if you like collaging mixed media, this kind of work, and I'll definitely do my best to create more pages like this. I really did enjoy it. It was my very first official video creating a collage for you guys, and I really did enjoy it. Here we are. This is the next morning now, and my page is completely dry because I was doing this late last night. And I try to go into it with a little bit of gelato just to kind of separate her somewhat from the background, but I felt that the white was just too it wasn't bold enough for me. I felt like she was still kind of hiding in the background or being part of the background, so I used a white pasta pen, which was actually sent to me by the company, so thank you so much for that, because I have really enjoyed using this. I love this marker, and if you guys have never tried a Posca marker before, you definitely have to try it. These things paint over everything, and they are just absolutely fabulous, and they're so bold. and you can't go wrong with a Posca marker. You honestly can't. My goal is to try to get myself one of the smaller ones in white, and maybe like even in a black. Although I think black markers are a little bit more easier to find, but definitely in a white, in a smaller barrel. So here I kind of created like this little, I don't know if it's a doorway or if it's like a telephone, kind of, you know, one of those portable telephone things that you used to find back in the day in the street. But it had like this Bill and Ted kind of feel. If you guys don't know what Bill and Ted is, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey or something like that, with Keanu Reeves. That's another old movie where they kind of travel through a phone booth. That's the word, phone booth. So I kind of put him in there, and the whole thing is of, I guess when it comes down to it, it's like he or she kind of went into this phone booth and came out on the other side where the horse is, and then got on the horse and traveled and ended up as a ballerina. Something like that, right? And that's kind of like how that kind of goes. And in that event, I probably should have put the ballerina on the other side so that it looks like she's traveling forward as opposed to traveling backwards. But hey, again, mixed media is very forgiving, and as long as you enjoyed how it came out, it's pretty much okay. So here I'm just kind of darkening up some of those edges, and you know, this is just doodling. You don't have to have any level of expertise to doodle. You know, this is just doodling, just me adding just different little things here and there, just trying to separate some of these elements. And you'll see me kind of go through some different markers. Here I'm using a paint marker by Gesso Art, which is really awesome. And you can actually even use this marker for painting on glass and then baking your glassware, and then it'll be permanent. So you can, you know, you can use it on porcelain, you can use it on clay, you can use it pretty much on anything that you can bake. Here I'm just kind of using it as like a media marker for my art journaling. And they have them in pretty much almost, they have I think every color in the rainbow so far. I'm not sure if they have any new ones added to their collection, but I know that they do have several of them. And it's nice and dark, so when you use them you can really see the colors, the boldness of the colors really do shine through. So I'm just kind of going around again, just doodling, just adding different things, just seeing what my mind kind of throws at me, like add this, you know, in this color, add it in this color, just kind of making everything seem very whimsical, you know, just kind of like all over the place. And just adding different things. I'm kind of struggling a little bit with that marker, so I go and I opt for a different one. This one is again another one by Posca. It's another Posca marker, but it's a fine tip. But again, even with the fine tip, you don't have any issues with those. They do color really well. And you'll just see me kind of adding little boxes, you know, here and there, just you know, simple little things. Again, you don't have to go too crazy. As long as you're enjoying the process of creating, that's really all that matters. And anything, you can add anything to your pages that you wish. There's no such thing as doing it the wrong way or a bad way or even an ugly way. That doesn't really exist in mixed media because it's self-expression. So everything is okay. Any way you do it is perfectly fine. As long as you enjoy doing it, that's all that really matters. And it's very soothing as well. Whenever I'm having a really stressful day, I can always pull out, you know, my art journal and just start drawing, or, you know, just whatever, just doodling, whatever the case may be. And I always find myself just so relaxed after. It's almost like taking a little mini vacation without going anywhere. And I guess mostly because your mind gets to kind of escape into whatever world you're creating. So it does help. It does help. Because life can be chaotic, you guys, right? Oh my. So here I'm adding it in yellow. Again, this is one of the Gesso Art's paint markers. And I'm sorry if you guys hear that background noise. It's very windy in New York today. I don't know what's going on with the weather, but it's not good. So here I'm just filling in the rest of the space in white, just to give the illusion that he's standing in some kind of, you know, he's encapsulated somehow, some way. I wish I could have added a little phone in there. That probably would have been cute, just to finish the whole look off. But yes, I kind of put the horse to look like he's kind of going through a finish line, which was not my intention then, but now that I look at it, it's like, yeah, that kind of has a look of a finish line. And here I'm just trying to doodle in some flowers. Again, nothing too major. I don't make them too fancy. Just simple little things here and there, just to kind of call your attention to different places on the page. And here I'm going to be tracing the horse in blue, and I'm going to be just adding some blue highlights because he's like a rock and roll type of horse. You know, very funky, very whimsical. I had to do something to kind of, you know, bring him up a notch. So yes, that was my flair. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed hearing my ramblings, as well as enjoyed this process of this video, and hopefully it encourages you and motivates you to pull out some magazines that you were getting ready to throw in the garbage, and just cutting out some words and some, you know, weird shapes, faces, colors, or, you know, trim everything. Just put it in an envelope and, you know, grab any old book that you have that is no longer of service or of use to you, and start, you know, collaging. And if you want to make your own gesso, that's very simple to do. All you need is some baby powder, baking soda free, not the one with baking soda, so just regular old baby powder, and regular old school glue, the white school glue, and a little bit of water. I have a few recipes on my channel for that, but you can also Google it. It's very basic. And all you need is a little bit of those two ingredients and some water, and you can make yourself some gesso that you can use. So if you don't have any, but you do have those other items handy, then by all means make yourself a jar. It lasts a long time and it goes a long way. And here I'm just using some other markers. These are like stamping markers. I think these are the Le Plumes, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I think Le Plume 2, I think is what these markers are. I think they're designed more for stamps, but I use my markers on everything. So just adding different things to it, just to make, again, just things kind of stand out, and just kind of tracing and just adding just different little things in here. I was getting to a point that I didn't know what else to add to the page. Once you get to that point and you don't know what else to add to the page, that means it's time to stop. So by all means, take a break from it, and then come back to it. And if you still feel like you can add something else to it, then by all means go right ahead and do it. But if you can come back to it and be like, yeah, this page looks pretty full, then it probably is pretty full. So it's okay to let it go at that point in time. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. Please subscribe and thumbs up this video. Thank you so much for watching, and have an awesome day, you guys. Until the next one, bye.